Attention, all breakfast skippers out there. That's right, if you're skipping that first critical meal of the day and you're finding trouble breaking through weight loss plateaus, ironing out gut issues, or controlling blood sugars, then this podcast episode is a must watch for you because we're going to talk about a topic that's not talked about enough. It's called chronobiology. Let's tune in. Cool, so today's topic, Mom, is chronobiology, which is a fancy word.
Chronobiology, yes.
What does that mean? Why are we talking about it? Why does it deserve to be talked about?
Well, chronobiology is sort of it is the study of our natural body rhythms. Mm-hmm. So hopefully you realize that we're diurnal animals. We're animals like others, and we're awake during the day. We're meant to be awake during the day. And we operate on this circadian rhythm. It's a 24-hour rhythm. And actually, we have these internal body clocks. You have a lot of different ones. You have, the one that's kind of based in your hypothalamus, and you have these peripheral ones. But I wanted to talk about this 24-hour cycle because I see a lot of people I work with that are trying to improve their health, and they want to lose weight, sleep better, have more energy, right? All of the stuff, better digestion. And a lot of them don't pay attention to or understand the significance of this 24-hour rhythm.
Yeah, it makes sense. This is like the first time I'm really talking about chronobiology in this sense. But, ever since, animals became, there's been a 24-hour clock where it's half day, half night, right?
Yeah.
So it's really baked into our DNA
yes.
at a deep level.
Yes, and so, why I think it's relevant to talk about is because, I hear so many people I work with, they skip breakfast. They skip breakfast,
yep.
and they do this for a couple of reasons. I get
Listen
it.
up, breakfast skippers. Listen up.
Because I get it, right? You're
usually in a rush.
Yeah.
You're usually just getting out of bed, and oftentimes you're used to skipping it, so you don't have an appetite, so you think you don't need to eat, all those things.
Yeah, and I think, people tell me, I just have no appetite, and when we actually discuss it at length and look at their patterns of how they eat, either they're habitual of breakfast skipping, so they've trained their body not to have any hunger cues, really. Your body's gives up sending you cues because it's you never listen anyway, or they maybe eat late. They eat late in the evening, and so they really aren't necessarily hungry. So, or they're fasting. They have got into this idea of, I'm going to do this intermittent fasting. And there's a place for that, but in specialized instances. But I think that the intermittent fasting, they sort of skew because they already skip breakfast. Mm-hmm. So they just continue the fast, and they then start eating later in the day and well into the night. And so I want to talk about this because I want people to realize that they're missing this huge window of time where their body is actually set up to really utilize those calories they're consuming in a more efficient way, as well as your insulin sensitivity is really greater early in the day. So if you're trying to regulate your blood sugars, we don't want you to skip breakfast.
What about if you're trying to lose weight?
Same thing. We don't want you to skip breakfast. Because it's so interesting. They did research around this, and they found that they gave people eating the same meals, same calorics, everything the same, and they ate it in the morning and they ate it in the evening. And what they found is that your body utilizes those calories earlier in the day versus later in the evening. Makes sense? It's more apt to store those calories than use those calories.
It's more apt to store at night.
At
versus
night, yes.
In the morning, it's more apt to just burn them.
Yes, rather than store them. And so they also looked at the breakfast skippers that, people will tell me, if I eat breakfast, I'm hungry the rest of the day. And, I would say let's really dive into that and it may seem that way because you're so used to fasting, but I think actually in studies what they've seen is those people that eat breakfast typically consume less overall because their meals are spread out throughout the day. They feel well nourished, and so their hunger cues are not ramped up, so to speak. Make sense?
Sort of, yeah. Yeah, I don't know why that would, because when they eat breakfast, they feel hungry throughout the day, right?
Some people, most people. I've had other people tell me I don't feel hungry at all. Okay, they eat a healthy breakfast, right? So yeah.
Cool. Well, one of the things you said in here is a calorie is not a calorie. That's like the typical belief system, right? Is a calorie is a calorie is a calorie. But not only is that not true from a sense of calories aren't equal, but also when you eat that calorie is a lot different too.
Right.
Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So this 20. So if one of the takeaways from doing this segment is, I really want people to eat breakfast. Okay, because especially if you're trying to lose weight, and especially if you're trying to manage your blood sugars, and especially if you want to sleep well and have more energy. So it's all of those things. And it really does start with eating a breakfast, within an hour of getting up or so. It doesn't, I like to have it be your most substantial meal of the day. Actually, there's a saying of, breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, dinner like a pauper. And, a nutritionist said this long ago, and it holds true. It really does, and the research sort of backs that up now.
So eat a big old meal, eat your biggest meal as breakfast, and then from there eat smaller and smaller meals?
Yes. Yeah.
What about eating like a king all meals?
Well, you're going to overconsume calories, right? But then again, so here's the thing. It's not just timing, it is food choice.
For sure.
Okay, and so we spend...
But it helps.
It helps. We spend a lot of time working with people on, their composition of their meals, their food choices, and that's great, and that's a super big component of health, but it's also timing. And so it's never, as we know, it's never just one thing, is it? It's multiple things, and so this is why...
Speaking of, there's a lot of things that go into circadian rhythm.
Yes.
Right. Of course, your sleep habits, when you're going to sleep, when you dictate a lot of times when you're waking up, stimulants you're consuming throughout the day, exercise you're doing throughout the day, sunlight, I know you mentioned in the show notes.
Yeah.
Factors in. Can you talk about those?
Yeah, let me talk about that. So your circadian rhythm runs on light and dark, basically. So, it is, if you want to maximize that, and we're inside a lot, many of us, it's important to get outside and get some, sun in your eyes, okay, they say. It's sun on your skin, those sort of things. Not only is it good for, your vitamin D production, but it really helps trigger some of those hormones. So, for example, melatonin is the sleep hormone. And so, when you have the sunlight coming in, it's going to downplay that melatonin. So when you wake up, melatonin starts ramping up as it starts getting dark because we're now preparing for sleep. And so insulin is one of those, stabilizes our blood sugars. It's ramped up in the mornings and it starts ramping down at night. Okay, so we see insulin sensitivity really the earlier in the day is better. Some of the other things is sleeping. So you are ramping down. Help yourself go to sleep in the evenings. Get off those screens because you have that light coming into your eyes, right? Start preparing to sleep. Try to get 7 to 9 hours a night. The other thing with keeping your circadian rhythm in sync is really consistent meals. So it's consistency all throughout these habits, for sure.
Yeah, I know for one thing, you can't trick your body when it comes to the light coming in. And the reason I know this is because whenever you travel internationally, we obviously in the States, so if you leave the United States, usually you have a significant time shift. And last time I traveled to Europe, I first of all Googled how to avoid all the, what do you call it when?
Jet lag.
Jet lag, yeah. And I used AI to come up with this plan. I'm like, when I'm going to take the melatonin, when I'm going to sleep on the plane, based on when I arrive, when I leave. And the AI kept saying like you can come up with this plan, but you really have to focus on getting light.
Yes.
You can't trick it with melatonin pills. You can't trick your body with anything. You just have to focus on resetting your light schedule. So I think that has a lot bigger of an effect than most people think, or even I thought. even just some like going out of the office to get some natural light because it's way better than the fluorescent light. I think probably plays a huge role.
It's amazing. Your body is such a finely tuned, well-designed machine, and you're right. You can't trick it. And they actually have these lights, and they're used often in those darker countries.
Yeah, when I lived in Minnesota.
Yeah.
And in the wintertime, it's 10 a.m. and it's still dark, or whatever it is.
They have, I think there are 10,000 lux lights, and it's just to stimulate the outside light, right? And that people sit under them, and it really does make a difference with your mood, your sleep schedule, all of those things. Okay. So I think, and jet lag's a big thing. It takes you a few days to get back on track with it because you think not only is your sleep out of whack, so is your eating, so is your hydration. So a lot of things start getting sort of out of whack. So they're constipated, they're fatigued, they're all of those things. So I think you're right. So maybe the best thing is get a night face mask.
That's a good tip. Yeah. So speaking of, what are some guidelines, and especially for those dreaded breakfast skippers, if we want to shift that habit, how do you typically guide people through changing those things and maximizing their circadian rhythm benefits? Yeah.
So I think that the first step, if people don't skip if they do skip breakfast, is to let's start small. I mean, just focus on your breakfast. And I'm not saying go get a Big Mac, okay? Because, we want to consume those better calories, in that spot. But definitely consider eating a big bowl of oatmeal with some berries and nuts and put some soy milk on it. And
should I roll out of bed and just stick my face in a bowl of oatmeal?
No, you can get up and ease into it, but within that first hour, let's try to get you going.
First hour, okay.
Yeah, first hour, and I know it's hard for a lot of people.
Especially if you don't have the habit or the appetite.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. And then definitely feel full, pay attention, and if you're that person who doesn't, have those hunger cues yet, try to eat something. Maybe it is something smaller. If food's too much, try a smoothie. Throw some vegetables in there, that sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
And then get outside. See if you can get some sunlight.
Within that first hour of getting up?
No, I'd say within the morning.
Okay.
Within the morning, probably. Here the problem is with sunlight is, especially if it's super sunny, is people are worried about UV light, right?
Sure,
And skin cancers. So, if you do it earlier, that UV light is lower. But there are some tips on when to maximize your circadian rhythm of when are you most creative and when you're most analytical, right? It's I actually Googled them. So I mentioned breakfast before 8. That's kind of the recommendation here for metabolic.
Okay.
That's your insulin sensitivity. I think that extends a little longer, but that's a good guideline. Focused work, 10 to noon. So we are at our best, apparently, with any of those hard analytical, cognitive tasks in that range. So if you're into that block scheduling, maybe that's where you block your time off to do that thing. Make sense? Exercise, they say, for performance, strength training, and speed. Not that I'm worried about speed, but some people are. Okay. I'm just eager to get out there. It's afternoon, but that's really hard for a lot of people. They have to do it at the beginning of the day, otherwise they don't get it done.
Yeah.
So these are just general guidelines. Creative tasks are typically later in the afternoon. Your mind tends to wander a little bit more and be more open to these creative tasks.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then winding down, avoid the screens, bright lights, caffeine. Definitely try to eat 3 to 4 hours before you go to bed. So if you're a late night snacker, we want to kind of, again, front load those calories, eat them earlier in the day and eat light later. And so I really like to try to tell my clients, let's try to eat your dinner, a light dinner, around 6, 5 to 6. And then, and then if you're a faster, then you're fasting all of that time. in a very natural way because you're sleeping anyway. So sleeping is actually a fast.
Yeah, so with that in mind, being the optimal, that means you're going to bed at about 9 to 10.
Yeah.
You're waking up then ideally 7 or 8 hours. So what is that? 6?
Yeah, 6 or 7. Yeah, I mean, so and everybody's different on how much sleep they need, right?
Yeah.
So
if you're going to bed at 9, you'll be waking up at 5 with 8 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. So
it's like your work week, but your body's work week.
Your body. That's a good way of looking at it. And that's for those night owls. That's hard to get in by 9 o'clock, in bed by 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
And so and part of that is some of us are wired a little differently. So work with your.
Yeah. Can you shift that a couple hours and just like rotate it? Or?
Yeah. I mean, just know that. I mean, these are general guidelines, and everybody has their own.
Yeah, this is like optimal.
Yes.
Based on the current knowledge base.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that your body works the best that way, but I think the main principles to take away are like morning is better metabolically speaking.
Yes.
And then the importance of actually getting real sunlight to regulate that rhythm.
Right, and being consistent with that, and trying to keep that in sync is really important. And again, if some of our listeners are those people trying to lose weight, sleep and consistency of meals and eating breakfast are really important factors, and they really are. I mean, because. And then we haven't even talked about how it all affects your gut health, right? Because everything's related. So we just want, I want to get you in a good rhythm. And that's what I work with my clients. I really want them to get in a good routine that's doable and also maximizing the benefit so they can reach their goals.
Yeah. So why does anyone's sleep pattern get off anyways? Or why do people get in the habit of skipping meals? Or choose to like fast and stuff like that?
Well, I think a lot of people fast because they want to lose weight.
Like, why is this a problem for people?
Well, I don't know. I think sometimes people are trying to lose weight. So in that concept of weight loss, we know calories and excess of calories create weight gain. Okay. But it's not just ethics, it's stress, it's no sleep, all those things too. I mean, if you're stressed out, your cortisol levels are high, so you're holding on to your weight. So again, it's not just overeating that can be leading to that weight. And so when people want to lose weight, they just do less. They eat less food, typically.
That's where I think it's coming from is just general weight loss habits.
Yeah.
And I think breakfast is probably the easiest one to skip. I don't know why that is, but
I think it is because you get up and you're in a rush.
You're in a rush.
And so you're super busy. You think about it. You're distracted. And so you get up, you're getting ready, you're getting out the door, you can't find the keys, you're feeding the dog, you're, whatever it is. And you're now in traffic, zooming to work. You might be having a bar of some sort because that's people lean into something. Coffee, right?
Which suppresses the appetite.
Yes. And then, so you're really not focused on what is truly going on with you. And so I think it's easy to ignore any sort of hunger cues or that sort of thing.
Yeah, also maybe if your body's been, you just came from sleep, so maybe you're just already conditioned to avoid hunger, maybe, because you already haven't been eating for 8 hours or something.
Yeah, I think, but I also have people that when they start eating breakfast, they actually wake up and feel hungry. As we start getting them back into a better rhythm and they really start enjoying breakfast. And there's so many tricks, you can do overnight oats. You can have things prepared so you just heat it up. And
potatoes, I love potatoes.
Potatoes are fabulous, and so, I really want people to choose well for their breakfast meal that are going to be these very nourishing food groups that are going to fuel your body the way it needs to be fueled. And so there's so many things you can do there that's going to actually give you the energy you need as you go forward.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be something cold and unappetizing.
No.
You can really dress up breakfast and make it good and make something warm or something with veggies in it.
I love veggies in the morning.
Yeah.
In my most recent newsletter, I share a recipe of breakfast bean and potato hash, and how I do it is I make it over the weekend enough for the week, right? And I just reheat it, and so really with breakfast, I think for most people it is preparation in advance, especially if you have that crazy morning schedule.
Yeah, and I think you'll actually notice that it gives you more clarity, more energy as you go into that crazy schedule actually. To have a full stomach and for your hunger to be, not something that's causing alarm bells in the back of your brain.
Yeah. And the thing is, if you skip breakfast,
it's probably contributing to that stressful feeling.
It is, and I think it actually contributes to poor choices later in the day.
Oh, yeah.
Because, your body at some point you're going to feel the hunger, unless you're, just, I don't know, drinking a lot of coffee all day or just super busy or that sort of thing, or trying to stay full with water. And so I think when people have these cravings and they tend to really eat a lot later in the day, it's because they haven't fueled their body, and then they hit the late afternoon and they have this slump.
Yeah.
And your body's basically sends out these cravings because it's like your cells are starving.
Code red.
Yeah.
Code red.
Yeah. It's like time to eat, and then they start eating. So they think that they just have these poor these cravings that they can't sustain. And really, when I look at a lot of clients and we look back at what they did, they just haven't fueled their body in a very nourishing way. And of course, your body's going to be hungry, and it screams for whatever's going to be fast fuel. So I think that's so anyway, another
Chronobiology, folks.
Yes, another plug for eating breakfast and paying attention to your circadian rhythm. Yeah.
Thanks so much for watching this segment. If you want more content like this, make sure to mash the like and subscribe button. That'll give you more of these videos, but also promote it to other people on the platform that need to see it. And then if you want further resources, you can go to therevitalizecenter.com. That's where we have coursework you can buy, but also free stuff like joining our newsletter, where we publish all sorts of free information. And then other than that, we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Bye, everyone.